is 19 years old. She lives in Blackpool and is working for Blackpool Carers Centre as their Young Carers Champion. This is a 12-month position to help develop training and awareness raising amongst professionals on issues affecting young carers. Jaymelea is a young carer supporting her mother, who is an alcoholic and has mental health problems. Her mother has also been a victim of domestic abuse. Her late father was a recovering heroin addict and was murdered last year whilst living in Blackburn. In her short life, Jamie has moved house over 19 times and has attended 6 different primary schools. She's the sole carer of her mother, who continues to have problems with alcohol and also her mental health.
My earliest memory is of my mum and my dad fighting. I was really young, I was a toddler, and it got to one stage where it was a really big fight. It got really bad, and my dad had took me to my grandma's, and I'd stayed there for a couple of days, and then I think my mum come and got me, said I had an appointment at the doctor's, and she basically had a bike around the corner with all that stuff in it, and she took me on a train to Blackpool, and I didn't really see my dad or my grandma or any of my family for a while. I didn't really understand what was going on. I was only about 2, so I was with my mum. That's all I kind of knew. Didn't really get any support until one social worker called Lee, he come, and he was really good with my mum. He understood that she had a drink problem, and he'd still see her and speak to her when she'd had a drink. He wouldn't just say, look, I'm going, I can't stay away, I've had a drink, because she got violent, but she never really got violent with him. He wanted to help her, and she was really honest with him and open with him, and he even got me Christmas presents.
Did anyone explain to you what was happening?
No, no one really. When they'd come round, they'd ask my mum if I could go outside or if I could go play. Basically I'd just get sent out of the room where I couldn't hear what was being said or what was going on. I'd listen at the door sometimes, and they would tell her, look, like she had abusive boyfriends, and they'd say, look, it's either you leave your boyfriend or we're going to have to take your daughter because it's not safe for her here. It made me scared of losing my mum, because she was like all I had, and I didn't want to tell anyone what was going on. I didn't want anyone to know anything, and I think it stopped me telling people. It stopped me, like, I suppose if they say how's your mum doing, I'd just say, oh, she's fine, she's great, she's hunky-dory. I'd probably say anything to stop them asking questions.
Did you have any family members that were on hand to help you out?
My nan was always on hand, no matter what. She was always there to come and help us. I guess she understood to a certain extent what my mum was going through, because she drank while she was younger as well. And then the only other person was my dad. He lived in Blackburn, and I'd go down and see him. We'd go horse riding, we'd do just things any daughter and dad would do, really. He had his own problems, he had drug problems and stuff like that, but he still taught me right from wrong, and then I'd send me back to Blackpool feeling a bit happier, I suppose.
How did you feel about this chaotic life?
When I was younger, it was just normal. I thought everyone's life was that way, and everyone had a mum like that, and they didn't really see the dad and that kind of stuff until I suppose I started going to parties at schools, at friends from schools' houses, and I'd see how different it really was. That their mum would come in and they'd cook them tea and they'd wash the clothes for them and they'd do all that stuff, where I was kind of doing all that for myself. And my mum, I don't know, it kind of changed that I become more the mum and she become more the kid. As I got older, I think I started realising that it just wasn't what everyone else had.
Right. Were you ever embarrassed about it, or about your mum's behaviour?
Yeah, quite a lot actually. I remember once she weed on my coursework and thought it was the toilet because she was that drunk. She'd come into my bedroom and weed in my shoebox, and I had to try and explain that to school, which was a hard one. So yeah, I did get really embarrassed and really ashamed, because when friends had come round, I didn't know what to do. The way they'd look at her and that kind of stuff.
How did you feel about school, and did it impact on your choice of friends?
My school was good, I suppose, when my mum was good. Like, if my mum she weren't ill, then I'd be alright. I'd be able to go into school and she'd do all the normal mum stuff, like make sure I'm a PE kit and all that kind of stuff. But when she wasn't well and she was drinking, I didn't go to school, and then I'd change schools all the time when I was in primary school, and then I think I got to one stage where I told her, I was at high school, I didn't want to move schools again, I wanted to stay there at that school, and for my first 3 years it was really good, and I had good attendance and it was going well, I had good grades, and then it was in about year 9 where we moved to like a local estate called Queen's Park, and it weren't a nice place to live, and she got in with the wrong people, and then I guess that's when I started to hang around with like kids that smoked and drank and all that kind of stuff, and my mum was hanging around with all her friends and getting drunk and disappearing for days or setting the kitchen on fire, and I'd start staying off school to look after her, and then I started hanging around with my mum's friends, which got worse because I started drinking and doing all that kind of stuff.
So did that affect your social life, the fact that you're having to stay at home and look after mum?
Kind of, but not, because the new friends I made, it's at home with me, with my mum, and basically I suppose they were just taking the piss out of us all, but I didn't see it that way. I thought they was my mates because they was there when I needed them, and they was in the same kind of situation, but I guess for them it was just somewhere to doss and not go to school.
And was there anyone at school who you could talk to or gave you any support?
There was only one teacher, really, it was Miss Woodacre, but that was while I was like good with all my schooling. I could talk to her about my mum and tell her what was going on, and she'd like try and reassure me that it weren't my fault and all that kind of stuff. But when you've got someone saying it's your fault I'm doing this, or like for an example, she cut her wrist once, but I'd hid all the knives, literally every knife or anything she could have cut herself I hid, and she'd found a pair of scissors, and because I didn't hide them, to me it was my fault. So like when I'd tell her that, she'd try and tell me it wasn't, but then like as I got older and I started not going into school, and she noticed the people who were hung around with weren't going into school, so she put 2 and 2 together that they must have been coming to my house, and that support link, it was lost, because I didn't like her anymore for blaming me for that, so I just didn't speak to her.
When was the first time that the phrase young carer, you first heard that phrase?
When I was 17. I went to Connections to speak to my personal advisor. I was pretty upset because it was just after my dad had been murdered and my mum had tried to hang herself. I went in and I spoke to her about a job she'd sent me through the post, I think it was, and she'd asked me some question, I can't remember what it was, but I got really upset and told her about everything that was going on at home, and she was going to send me to somewhere called Cosmic or Cosmos or something like that anyway, and it had been shut down, so she rang up from carers, and then she offered to take me there, or I could have gone on my own, but I don't think I would have gone on my own. So then when I come, and then when I met you, and you told me what a young carer was, so yeah, I was 17.
And did you think you were one?
No, I didn't really know what one was, so I was like, oh, I'm a young carer, cool, look after my mum. I didn't really think of it that way. Just thought, well, she's my mum, she looks after me, so it's my job to look after her as well. That's the way I thought of it.
What are your experiences of contact with the police and healthcare workers who are coming to help mum?
I've had bad experiences with the police. I really don't like them, and that's mainly because of the way they've treated my mum before, and when she's hurt herself or she's had an argument with a boyfriend or a fight or something's kicked off anyway, when they've come round, and she'll either be like, there was one time where she was walking down the stairs because she'd cut all the wrists open, and as she was coming down the stairs she had her arms held up like that, like saying, look, I'm not hurting no one else, I've only hurt myself, and they literally grabbed hold of her, dragged her down the stairs by her feet, tied her up with leg binds and armbands and all that kind of stuff, and dragged her out, and they don't give her any respect. They just see her as a problem, and it's like she's not a person, she's just something they want to get rid of, and they just want to sort it out as fast as they can. Healthcare workers didn't really speak to me, they just dealt with my mum. When they would come round, they'd send me out of the room, they wouldn't want me to be around, they'd want me to go and play or do other stuff while they spoke to my mum.
If you had a message for professionals out there, what would it be?
I'd say keep me involved in what's going on, because I'm a carer, I'm the one looking after her, and maybe there's some stuff that she can't tell you that maybe I can. And not to make promises that you can't keep. To when you offer a support like a psychiatrist and stuff like that, like don't make sure it's the same person all the time and not someone different, because it just ends up making her worse, having to go over all the bad stuff that's happened to her that makes her feel this way. Is just making her feel that way all the time when it changes. So just keep it the same and give her as much support as you can.
And what about a message for teachers so they can support young carers and their families?
Don't just, if a kid's acting up, don't just think it's bad behaviour and that they're trying to ruin your lesson or act the class clown, because sometimes they might be angry or upset and they don't know how to deal with it themselves, and they're acting out because maybe they just ask them what's going on and if they're okay or if there's anything they can help with.
And what about a message for the police?
I struggle with this one. To treat my mum like a person, not a problem. Give her respect and don't just think, oh my god, she's acting up again, let's just get her into the cells and we can forget about it. I don't offer her help, and when you do offer help, don't say you're going to do it and then just not do it, because it just makes things worse. It makes her respect you less, and it makes me respect him less. It stops me wanting to ask him for help. It stops me wanting to even talk to them. So just come in with some respect and not all guns blazing like there's a big kick-off, because it's not a football riot, it's just one person that's in need of help.
And the last message for mental health workers, what would that be?
Continue support after, they've been in psychiatric units. Don't just give them the support while they're in there and think they'll be fine on their own when they're outside, because that's just not the case. And the medication that you put them on, make sure you let their doctors know that you've put them on new medication, so she doesn't come out and go straight back to the medication that she felt ill on and didn't make her feel well. Just make sure you keep everyone informed, and maybe let me know what her illness is and if there's anything I can do to help her, and explain it to me so I'm not sat in the dark wondering what's going on with my mum.
Okay, so finishing on a positive note, you're now the Young Carers Champion at Blackpool Carers Centre. What skills do you think that you've acquired or learnt since you took on that role?
I'm a lot more confident than I used to be. I used to be shy and didn't really talk to anybody, and now it's a lot different, I suppose, because Blackpool Carers Centre have made me more aware of what support I should be getting, what support my mum should be getting, and I ain't afraid to tell them that I know that now. If we go to the hospital or somewhere like that, I turn around and say, look, you're supposed to be doing this, why aren't you? Or the police, I say that, I know they should help her, and that if she needs medical attention, they've got to take her to the hospital first and not straight to the police station like they used to do. So they do that now. I made a video with TrueTube and we won a silver award, me and two of young carers. Got a minibus for the centre, and I'm doing a diploma now in helping, mentoring and community learning, and I've moved into my own house.
What aspirations do you have for the future, firstly for yourself and also for your mum?
I want mum to get better, and I want to make a difference and finish my diploma and maybe go to university. I'm not sure yet. I don't know if that's the right thing for me, but I'll probably give anything a try. So yeah, that's about it.